right, welcome to another episode of Have a Go with Corey the Cheeky. I've got Nick Youngquest here with me. Met Youngy a few years ago now, about 15 years ago.
Jesus.
Penny Panthers. So Nick's got a pretty cool story. He's obviously played rugby league in Australia, overseas in the UK, had a little stint at France.
Yeah, a little stint in France in there, in between the UK and Australia, yeah.
And then found himself in the world of modelling, flying around the world.
Fucking hell, so weird.
Tough gig. And then also you got a pretty cool initiative, which we'll touch on as well, the Athletes for Life, which, is that right?
Athletes for Life, yeah, something I'm pretty passionate about. I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot.
Yeah, look, that's a good initiative, I think, which we'll touch on. But yeah, give us a bit of a background, Youngy.
Mate, good to see you. Thanks for having me. Last time we were in this little room where there was some few shenanigans going on. We won't go into that though. Yeah, man. Obviously, grew up here in Cronulla. And played for a bunch of teams in Australia. We won't talk about we won't talk about all of them. We're fucking here all day. But yeah, mate, I enjoyed my time in the NRL, obviously. But I think for me, one of the best things I ever did in my life was to go overseas and travel, and lucky enough to do so playing footy, and experience different cultures. And as you said, I had a little bit of a stint in France, but my time in the Super League was really, really good. And probably, when at the right time as well, matured as a person, and probably played my best footy over there as well. Bit of a rat bag back in the day, and kind of, I don't know, I was talking to about this the other day, and I don't know if this resonates with you, having been in the squad together, kind of didn't really feel like I fitted into many teams, you know what I mean? The environments that we were in, it's a bit of a different kind of a culture than my typical kind of persona, so it was a bit weird. Like, I think out of Penrith, I used to hang out with Louis a lot, me and Luke Lewis used to be there doing all the weird shit, but at the same token, Luke really did fit into the culture, and I was kind of like this, bit of an oddball, I guess, and I grew up surfing and stuff like that, so, but yeah, I had a good time playing in the NRL and the Super League, but travelling's been one of the best things I did, so it's taking me to some interesting places, as you said, and it's good to be home though, so coronavirus brought me home, and I think I'm going to stay, so you got to put up with me now, brother.
I remember having a convo with you about, actually it might have been in this room.
Oh, Jesus. This could be anything.
No, but about like exactly what you said, that you felt like you didn't fit in. Like, you were a footy player, but the way I remember you, like, you weren't the stereotypical footy player.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Not in a bad way or anything.
Nah. I think it was probably a good way for me as well, because I didn't fit into... I mean, I was decent enough. Like, obviously, I played professionally. There's no discounting that I was okay at rugby, right? But I was pretty good at a lot of sports, to be honest, when I was younger. But obviously, growing up here, I always wanted to play NRL and stuff like that. It was the childhood dream. But then once I got into the kind of the system, it was like, didn't really fit in that as much as I probably would have thought. I could always voice my views, and my views are probably pretty different than a lot of people as well. So, but for some reason, I used to voice those, and a bit of a weirdo to some people, But and I was actually talking about this the other day, because I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like in some parts of the game or being around that environment, I kind of tried to make up for not fitting in by getting super pissed and drinking too much. Like, it was kind of weird, that was my kind of way of fitting in, and being
one of the boys.
Yeah, trying to be like this kind of person I really kind of wasn't almost, you know what I mean? So it's a bit of a shame too, you'd never want anyone to feel like that they have to do anything to try and fit in, being yourself is the most authentic thing you can do. But I think that I kind of acted out a little bit in various ways, and probably that I wouldn't probably do now, so it's kind of interesting when you reflect on that,
Part of growing up, I guess, eh?
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. And the times were good. They were hilarious. But it was just thinking now, what the fuck was I doing? Plenty of stuff that we probably shouldn't tell your viewers. So
that's all right, mate. They're all degenerates like us, probably. So an interesting thing I read as well. You were a coach. Is that right?
Yeah, man. So it's so crazy, eh? Me.
I Googled you yesterday, and I was I never knew that.
The last person you would have thought would have coached, eh? But no, yeah. When I moved from the UK to New York, my ex-wife was from New York. Moved to New York City in early 2013 after retiring in 2012. And a guy from Wollongong had moved to New York, and he'd actually played in this. There was a small comp there at the time. And he wanted to start a team in Brooklyn, and he was like, he knew I was there. He's like, look, can you come and help out? And I was like, you know what, like, I did play at the top level, and I thought I kind of felt like it was my duty. I guess if I was living in that area, it was the community I was living in, I should go and help, lend a hand. And so I started going, but sometimes it can be crazy to get to training and stuff like that. Where we were training at the first, when we first started, it would take me like 2 hours or something. And I'd get there and there'd be 4 people. And I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing? I'd like start blowing up. I got a bit of a blow up in me too. So, I stuck with it for a little bit. And I actually was spending a lot of time away during the season. The second season, so Brent Richardson stepped in actually and took over. But yeah, I wasn't the best coach, to be honest with you. Like I tried, but the intention was there, and probably the intention there to help people and learn the game and enjoy it was there, but the passion was definitely fucking not. Jesus Christ. But yeah, we ended up winning the comp. Not last year, the year before. No, last year. Yeah, so they won the comp last year, and which is awesome. So they're only in the competition for 4 years, and then they won. So
how was because you said you weren't the stereotypical footy player. You never felt like it. Did you approach like a coach?
Yeah, so I actually did. I actually like tried to go in and like have a system and like, because I thought to myself, this is what I thought. Right, it's like they're not able to play off the cuff as much as we would have been because they've not been exposed to the game and stuff like that, right? So I thought that having structure would have been useful, and I think that probably hindsight it was a bit selfish of me because I think the structure was probably just more for me because I'd say do this, so like my job looked like I was doing something, right? If it went well, it went fucking awful, by the way, because you try to tell these guys like teach them different parts of the field and different points on the field to get to, right? And they really didn't like have any idea about what I was talking about. They grew up playing American football or basketball, these different sports, and they for the most part they just wanted to fucking belt each other, really, and they love the kind of contact and the aggression of it. But so it was a bit weird for me. But the boys probably laugh. Like I used to have like spreadsheets and shit. It was fucking weird. I was like, what are you doing, man? After a while, I realized it was kind of more like a social thing as well at the start. So I kind of toned it down. And, yeah, but still get a little bit anxious and kind of angry on the sideline. Used to yell at the referee a lot. That sounds like me, right? Typical fucking winger on the plenty of bark, no fucking bite, huh?
But you used to play above your weight, Bart. I remember you used to
but
run it straight.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably a part of it as well. Like not like feeling like I didn't fit in, right? So. I was made fun of, not obviously, I sound like a dick, but I was made fun of for being a bit of a pretty boy. I was a skinny little blonde kid, tanned surfer, so I used to get made fun of, right? And back when I played like in the 18s, 19s and 20s and that, like I used to play fullback or wing, and I literally, I touched the ball sometimes 6 times a game and score a hat-trick, you know what I mean, back in the early days. And then obviously, getting to the top level is a lot more, it's a lot more difficult, and just doing that is not enough, right? So I think that one of the ways I tried to fit in was by like, fuck it, okay, the only way I can show my worth is by running as hard as I can and straight, you know what I mean? It didn't turn out too good in the end, and then we'll touch on later, I started having seizures when I retired from too many concussions, right? But yeah, I think that was one of the ways I felt like I was like, if I'm going to be part of this team, I've got to like put my balls on the line and like go as hard as I can. So it was kind of, yeah.
Be a man.
Yeah, that's right. Be a man and like not, and it's, I guess back then as well, like now that the HIA thing is like really good, right? All this, the things surrounding concussion are really good. But back then, like you got concussed. It's like, how many fingers are you holding up? And you like say 4. And then the trainer would be like, how many fingers are you holding up? 4. How many fingers are you holding up? What's one below 4? Oh, 3. Yeah, okay, you're good, mate. You're good, right? So it's kind of bad in a way.
It's a bit of a badge of honor, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it, right? That's it, and to keep going, and yeah, so that's the way I played in the end. In the end, I think my last year at Castleford, I don't reckon I've probably scored 2 tries, but I've probably touched the ball 26 times a game, and made 250 metres every game. So it's just a different, like diametrically opposed at the different ends of the career, So
Round to sidestep.
Yeah, no, so mate, I don't think I had more of a swerve anyway. I tried to emulate ET, it didn't do very well, but in the end I just had the Tongan side, so that was it, straight in.
So you mentioned there you had a seizure. That was obviously post.
Yeah.
When you were on a...
I was in Paris, yeah. So it was 2013. I was at work, and I just was walking down the street one day on a day off from work, actually, and then I just started to feel really weird and like odd, kind of get this aura come over you, and this like vivid kind of deja vu, and I don't remember anything after that. And then the next thing I remember is just being on the ground, and there was like 5 ambulance guys around me. I'd been actively seizing on the side of the road, so it's pretty scary, man. Yeah, so I take medication now, and it seems to help. So,
what was it feeling like when you woke up, like in the middle of Paris with people around you?
So, even still, take Paris aside, when people have seizures, you kind of come to, and you don't really know what's happened, right? You're very disorientated and kind of shocked. Not shocked is not the right word, but disorientated, and you can take that disorientation to anger, because you're like, what are these people doing? Like, people fussing about you, right? Because you're on the ground, and you can be foaming at the mouth, and you're like jittering, like moving around, and having a full spasming, right? So you kind of wake up disorientated like that anyway, and then add on to it that like these people were speaking a different language. I was like, what the fuck is happening, man? So there's me, man, I couldn't fucking fight my way out of a wet paper bag, right? I get up, and these guys are holding me back, and I'm like, I got to throw down here. So I'm starting punching these dudes, and they're like trying to help me. So it's pretty freaky. It's a scary feeling, for the most part, because you don't know what's happened. You don't know why you're on the ground, and then why these people are fussing over you. It's not a nice feeling. But for me, like now, if I would probably know more, I'd probably be more in tune to understand that I had a seizure. It's just for the other people, man. Like, if I have a seizure right now, it's not a nice experience for you, man. At all. It's really bad. Like, it can be 5 minutes, and you like full on spasming and going crazy. It's like convulsing. It's not a nice experience, man. My ex-wife had to witness it a couple of times, and it's like super scary.
A few times, has it?
Yeah, a few times. So Paris, and then another 2 or 3 times back in New York. And then my neurologist got me on some medication, which seems to work pretty well. So that's been the managing process for that. Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. A few technical difficulties. I'm an idiot. I had the mic back to front.
Love it. I love it.
But we're just touching on how you had some seizures and obviously post footy career. So. Is that obviously? I don't know. I don't think they proven that stuff is from that.
So they can't.
That's a rough idea of like, well, that's your take where you think it's come from, because you don't have it in your family or anything like that, do you?
Nah. So nothing. No history in the Youngquest family of seizures or anything like that. And I've had all the testing, the relative testing that you would have done. There's from the elementary EEG testing, which is electromagnetic stimulation of the brain, and seeing how the messaging in your brain works. There's 2 tests that you do for that, and then an MRI, obviously, right, which looks at the brain very in depth, right, and nothing shows up. Pardon me, nothing shows up, and so. But my neurologist, from all the information that I've given him, and then my exposure to brain injury throughout my career, he said, like, we cannot discount that was from that, right? He said that from all the history of the head knocks, the decade of playing at the top level, but also if you think about it, it's kind of interesting, right? We oftentimes just think about when guys get knocked out or concussed in a game, but you're having these mini collisions like at training all the time, right? So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of scary in that way, right? Back when we were coming through the grades, they started to do a lot more contact at training on each other, right? And those blows can be just as bad, right? So yeah, it's not. You can never say it's definitely from that, but it's more than likely would be from too many brain injuries. So.
Yeah, because I guess you eliminate everything, don't you? Yeah. And it's, well, if it's not this, it's not that, then what is it? And
exactly. Exactly. For me, you know, like for me, it's not a bad thing because you know there's a lot of other things, other symptoms that are associated with traumatic brain injury that could be much far worse and go probably unnoticed as well. You know, things like depression and mental health issues and stuff like that, and you know more deeper things with self identity and stuff like that. Mine, you know, fortunately, I have the physical symptom of having a seizure, so now it's more manageable, right? So. You know, if there's anyone out there that is struggling, I think it could be from too many brain injuries. You know, there is things you can do and ways you can help in which to, train your brain and I'm missing a word. Obviously, my memory is not very good. Like kind of regrow and regenerate the tissues that have been affected. So, yeah.
So is that the only? Oh, you just mentioned memory, actually. Yeah. So seizures, memory, there's the things that you struggle with?
Yeah, memory and the seizures, right? And, you know, there's times when, like, I've actually got off the medication and if anyone has to go on medication for suppressing seizures, I wouldn't, you know, suggest that you go off the medication. I just don't like taking medication too much, you know? And I think that, you know, it pushed me down a route of being a little bit, like, easily irritable, kind of a little bit more excessive with things, you know, take things to the nth degree, right? And, you know, that was probably a bit of something that wasn't super useful in my last relationship. But yeah, I'm back on the medication now and it's really manageable and I feel pretty good. So, but it's one thing, I don't want to take fucking medication the rest of my life, you know, it's weird that it's that kind of, every morning, that kind of fucking memory of being hit in the head too many times, you know. It kind of, like, rugby league is kind of a crazy sport, isn't it, right? It's like, if I tell you now, like, go and run into that brick wall 20 times right now, you'd be like, hell no, but that's exactly what it's like, right? So, but we love to watch it and we love to play as well, so.
Yeah, it's weird, eh? It's like, I know Dana White always talks about it. He goes, it's two humans fighting. It's like a primal, like, contact, and that. Yeah. It's like a primal thing in us, like just like an ape would, or
exactly
any animal on this earth. It's a weird.
It's like any kind of confrontation like that. We want to, you know, have that kind of that mental edge or the win over the top of someone, right?
It's like that fight or flight.
Yeah, that's it, right? That's it. And I think that's probably one thing I've, you know, since I retired, been able to relinquish a little bit. I don't need to win everything, you know. Still competitive in nature, but more competitive myself rather than other people. Like I don't want to. Like you're telling me that you're going to go in the ring, right? Obviously it's for charity and it's a good cause, you know, but I'm like, fucking terrifies me. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone. Well, yeah, I'd probably get hurt myself, so fuck it. Who am I kidding?
It's just, I don't know. It's something that scares the shit out of me, but I was like, I've always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
It's an amateur, like we got headgears on and that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't get dropped in front of everyone.
Jesus. No, you'll be sweet, mate. You'll be sweet. You can throw them.
So, also, your modelling career, brother. So that I remember you always over some paper or something we're playing footy.
Yeah.
Had Cameron Serraldo as one of your mates on here. And I think he said you pipped him at the line for when he was in it as well.
Oh, yeah?
6 man in league.
Oh, yeah.
So have you always started, have you always dabbled in that? When did that start?
So I actually kind of had an agency here for many years, but I never really did anything. I think, you know, back in those days when we did it was like the early 2000s. We were doing a bunch of calendars every year for charities, you know. One was for the LGBTQ community. One was for, fairly certain it was for Glenn McGrath's wife, the foundation, right, for breast cancer and stuff like that. And then other ones for prostate cancer. So I always kind of did a few little things here and there because they were for charity. But never really kind of worked per se as a model when I was playing at all, no. But I had an agency in LA, and the opportunity came up to do what I'm doing now, and for me it's super, super cool. I think anything, you know, with life, right, I like experience, right? So you're doing something different now, right? And you said before we started, it's a different experience, and you learn something new, right? And that's really what you take away from every kind of experience that you have, right? Will I do what I'm doing forever? Like, probably not. And is there parts of the job that are like super unfulfilling? For sure. It's a pretty shallow kind of business, you know, in a broader kind of aspect. But I've been super lucky to be able to like kind of do different things and just being a model. You know, I work with the brand directly on different things, from doing things with our inside sales teams to the boardroom meetings and stuff like that. So it's I'm not working day in day out as a model, but it's something that's super I'm super. What's the word? Grateful for the opportunity of shooting these things in front of with like 200 people there on set, like it's like a huge movie. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy thing to come from Cronulla and having played at Penrith to be on like a set of a big movie kind of film kind of thing. And the first one was shot in the Olympic Stadium in Barcelona, and that was kind of a surreal experience.
This is with Paco
Rabanne, yeah. And then the second film we shot in the desert in Namibia, and it's like nothing you've ever seen. It's modeled off this kind of Mad Maxi kind of vibe, and shooting that was super super cool. Yeah,
I was mad. I was just telling you before we jumped on. I think I watched that about 20, 30 times. It's unreal commercial.
Yeah, it's really rad, eh? Like one of those funny things, and I think you will probably get onto it. Like when we talk about Athletes for Life, it's like I never really like felt like in those two films, it's like, oh my god, this is gonna look so shit. And then I see the end product, and like I'm like you, I like. Not because it's me, I'm just like, holy shit, it's a collective group of people putting something together to make like that. It's like a story,
Yeah,
I'm not very fucking creative, so it's like, for me, it's hard to picture how everything goes together. But
how'd that role come about? Like, how'd you land in that? Because that's a pretty big gig.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like, in modeling terms, like, for men and women, actually, the pinnacle really what everyone is striving to get to is to do fragrance, right? Fragrance is where the biggest exposure is on a global scale. Lots on TV. If you think about, I don't know, like a lot of, say, fashion brands, they're not having, you don't see a Prada fashion label commercial on TV. Does that make sense? They're in magazines and stuff like that. So on the TV is where the big things come in. And I just retired, and I was going back to clear my house out in the UK to move to New York. And these guys wanted me to go to Paris and have a meeting. I was like, fuck, this is going to be hilarious. Like, this Aussie dude. And I was kind of shitting myself a little bit, actually. I'm shitting myself in general at that time. Like, I'm retiring. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? All I've done is rugby league. Moving to New York City with no degree, where it's super important to have a university degree over there to get a job. And they said, come down. I went down, and fuck, yeah, I don't know, man. I just landed on my feet, really, to be honest. It was only like a month after retiring, too, so... been a cool experience though as well. Like, I think, one of the great things for me is that like these fragrance things can turn over pretty quickly. Like, as in, you sign the first contract for 2 years and then they'll change it up and use someone different, or it could go for longer. But when they do change the commercial, they normally change the model too. So I've been able to do it for a long time. So it's been pretty cool.
How long's it been? It's what, about
8 years? 8 years, yeah. Yeah, so
old as toast
2012.
Now, mate.
Yeah, getting old, but hopefully I'm aging all right. Mum thinks I am, so it's all good. No.
Still look the goods, brother.
Oh yeah, okay, okay. Oh no.
What? So, like transitioning, that's a totally different world. Like going from an athlete into like high-end fashion or whatever you want to call it, like that. Is there any skills or things that you think that helped you transition through that, or like, or was it the same type of feeling you had as a footy player? Like you felt like you didn't really belong,
so I felt like I think, and maybe that's indicative of my personality. I'm not sure, but don't feel like I specifically belong in that kind of setting, to be honest with you. But we was talking about this the other day with a friend of mine. Like, there are so many skills you learn from sport that are super super useful. In so many different aspects. One of them is adaptability, right? We're able to adapt to different social situations fairly quickly. Like, you can talk to the CEO of the team, to the person running the games in the governing body, to a politician, to the fan, or to a child fairly quickly, and that's a pretty good trait to have. I think that's one of the good things that I took on to into these kind of roles. I hang out with everyone on these sets. There's, as I said, 200 people. So there's from the person that's actually behind the camera shooting the film, or the director as well, to the guys who are serving the food at lunch. And I think the great thing we learn from sport is that we treat everyone the same. And that's a really good trait to have, I think. The second trait I would say is being able to take criticism and use it constructively, right? So we're oftentimes in sport where we're always given feedback, and we have to utilize that feedback and make the changes necessary to move forward when we're in sport to perform better. And I think that's one thing that I was always open to feedback in whatever work I do. So I think that's probably been super useful to move the fragrance along and for it to be successful too.
So you're not one of those prima donnas that I can't wear this.
No, that's it, mate. Nah. I refuse to wear these fucking pants. Nah.
Used to the coach giving it to you on a Monday if you didn't play good. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but I guess that would taking constructive criticism.
You're able to take it and not get it pissed off, right? That's the thing, and utilizing it to make yourself better. That's a really key, and a lot of guys wouldn't really realize that, and they probably, but
I didn't really think about that until you just said it. I'm like, that's a really good skill to have.
Amazing skill to have.
Analysis, assessment, especially weekly. Athletes do get judged weekly as well. So that would transition really good into it.
And if you think about it, we also know from a self-awareness perspective when we've played shit or done something bad. So you know that the coach is going to come and give you that criticism anyway. So you're already trying to compartmentalize how you're going to use it to become better and perform better, right? But if you think about the corporate setting or in the regular kind of jobs, people might only have a performance review once a year.
Yeah.
And that can also become a toxic kind of environment for me because, if you're doing it by the year, if you're thinking you're doing okay the entire year and all of a sudden your boss is like, hey, hang on a second, this is what's going on. And you're like, it can create a toxic kind of environment where people, hold this animosity towards these people and be like, fuck. So we're really, really good at doing that, if I tell you you're doing this shit, you fucked up with by having the microphone the wrong way, right? You don't take it in a negative. I
was going to cut that out.
No, but we kind of make a joke about it, or we go, oh yeah, you're right, yep, that's on me, and we're able to take ownership over that. I think that's a really, really crucial skill, man. So yeah.
And then, so at the moment, where you stationed at the moment? You're in Portugal. Were you in New York, Portugal?
Yeah.
Actually, what was it like living in New York? You were there. One of your mates came over and sang you.
Yeah.
It's a bit dusty the next day.
Man, it was New York. It's an interesting place for sure. Good place to live. Don't get me wrong. I always say to people, I never want to sound like I'm complaining or I'm not grateful for the time that I got to spend there, because a lot of people would love to live there and experience it. But living there and visiting is a whole different kettle of fish. Living day in, day out in a city like that can be pretty brutal. And the American culture and people are very different to Australians. Although there is a lot of Australians there in New York, but it was a good experience. But definitely feel much more at home on the beach, and that's when I moved to Portugal at the start of last year. It's been over a year. Obviously, I lived there for a year, and I felt at home, man. I live in a small town similar to Cronulla, right? It's 30 minutes from the airport, 40 minutes to Lisbon. It's much smaller though, right? But it was on the ocean, and I felt like, fuck, this is what have I been doing the last 12 years, I felt like I'd been missing out being close to the ocean. So, yeah, I think, New York was eye-opening, and I've made lots of good friends and lots of good networks as well. If you're willing to dive in and meet people in New York City, it's a really good place for that. But you also meet some dicks as well, money really drives New York, right? It's America is... all of America's, smartest people are kind of there, or they're in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco. So it's interesting. You can meet some real jerk-offs. How's my accent?
Yeah,
so anyone will say that.
Let's
start talking about New York.
New York.
But I got so fucking pissed off over there, man. It's because if you go full Aussie style, right? Can I have a beer? They're like, what? To the barmaid, right? A beer. And they're, huh? What are you saying? What would you like? Yeah. And then you go, could I please have a beer? Oh my God, a beer? You should have just said so. And I said, I fucking did, love. So I just kind of started accentuating the R, and it's kind of annoying, and it annoys me now because still with the R, I'll say R, storm or corn. I still do it now. It's so weird. People give me that much shit about it.
That's because you lived there for a few years.
Yeah,
that's
7
only
years.
natural, I think.
Yeah, 7 years. So
you might get the old surfer accent.
Get it back now with the boys. Yeah, fucking frothing, hey. Sound like Sal Fitzgibbons. I love you, Sal, but
Well, yeah. So, in Portugal now, are you going to head back there?
no. So I think I'm going to stay after being back home. It's been really good, and I was always wanting to trying to transition to coming back here. Been spending more or less 10 months of the year away. And then 2 months of the year here in Australia visiting, right? But I want to do the reverse, so like do 2 months overseas and 10 months here. So, trying to drive some work up here, working on the charity that we'll talk about, and it's just good to be home. And like my mum and dad, obviously, no one gets any younger. My sister's kids are growing up, and so I think it's a good time to for me, it was a good time to come back and take stock of everything and be like, fuck, man, maybe I should be living here and closer to everyone, So.
What about this Athletes for Life?
Yeah,
that we were talking about. So what's that about, and why'd you start that?
Yeah, so we talked about it at length, but for me, it's a lot of the people that we played against or played with, really struggle transitioning into different roles in life, and it doesn't, no one's really immune. Doesn't matter if you earn $1 million a year when you're playing, or if you earn $100,000 a year. People really find it challenging to kind of transcend that sporting identity, that something they've done for so long, and understand it, like the self-reflection kind of feedback kind of thing that we're pretty good at. People can't see that though, right? So we really want to provide these pathways and networks for players to access to become better citizens and advocate for things that they want to advocate for, to grow personally and professionally in so many ways. So I started running marathons in 2015, and I realized that maybe probably I was struggling with a few of those things, self-efficacy problems like self-belief and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, maybe there's more to be done, and I think running provides a really good platform for that, getting back into a structured training regime and being involved in organised sport can be super useful. Not everyone's going to be able to run marathons, but so we'll run other programs to kind of help give these tools and pathways, as I said, for people to access should they need them. So it's an interesting space. All the psychology behind it. It's really quite interesting.
You're into like your mental health and that as well. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Posts you put up, and like even through the potty, like you mentioned about I felt like it was my duty to go to Brooklyn and coach.
Yeah.
Like helping the community, getting people in the community, doing things for charities.
Yeah.
Have you always been really big on that, or is it more towards the back end of your career where you realised how important that is? Yeah, so
like I always kind of did that. I advocated for the LGBTQ community from a young age. Like I was probably 18, 19. Like, so I've always been involved in advocating.
What led you to do that?
Just like living in a country like Australia, I was playing a sport that was so brutal and kind of manly, I guess if you would say. And I was, I had some friends who were gay, and I was, I thought that was my duty again, like to stand up for equality and stuff like that, So, we did a couple of the calendars and stuff as well, and I was exposed to different people who told me their stories about, the difficulties about coming out and stuff like that. So I wanted to make people feel more comfortable. That's probably the biggest thing, and educate other people to be more inclusive. But yeah, so it's always been, I think, through sport as well, we're given such a great platform, and I've been lucky enough to do something completely different after, which is also grow, let that platform grow too. So surrounding the mental health thing, there's so many conversations out there which are so great right now, but for me, a lot of those are accessed by people posting things on social media, and I think that there's not enough proactive solutions, because posting something on social media is not a solution. It's I understand, and people might look differently than I look at this, but social media is a great way to start a conversation. But starting the conversation, we want to end the conversation, right? We're not having anyone having these issues, right? We're never going to get there. But there are things that we can do, I think, that can be proactive solutions for people to access, rather than saying, "Oh, I don't want to specifically mention any of these campaigns," but I think it's easy to just post things and not have like a real kind of program, but people can
like a
go to and
structure
access.
around it.
It's kind of weird,
creating
it's
some awareness.
Well, it's kind of like this Black Lives Matter thing, right? That's going on right now. A lot of people have been up in my grill, like, why haven't you been posting? And I thought to myself, why I haven't been posting? Because first of all, posting doesn't fucking do anything, in my opinion. other than grow the conversation. But
And
secondly,
people post too because it's the
feel like
cool
they have
thing to do at the moment.
exactly
as
right.
well.
They feel like they have to,
Yeah.
right? And I said to a guy, he said exactly that to the guy. I said, just rather than spray me and call me out like I'm a piece of shit, I said, why don't you just come back to me in like 3 months when the dust settles and see who's still here advocating for the things that I advocate for, right? So my point was, I'm not going to forget my point, am I? So with the Black Lives Matter, it's like, why are you giving me shit for not posting about Black Lives Matter? And this is a black guy, right? And I'm like, he's like, you're complicit because you're not saying anything. I said, they thought to myself, hang on a sec, man. I want to actually relinquish I don't really need to. Do you need another white guy up there speaking over the top of you right now? It should be black people out there voicing their opinions on the injustices, right? And we should be listening, But I've been there as well, advocated for these things, So I think that's probably where it ties back into the stuff that I want to do for Athletes for Life. It's not all about pushing everything out and doing everything on social media and it's not for me about making money, right? It's about helping people, right? And I think helping people, sometimes you do so the best when you're pretty silent and, when you're helping one by one, and that's when you're doing that, I think it can affect more impactful change, let's say. You might not have the same reach because social media has a wide reach, but I think it's more impactful for doing the things that you can do. Having someone come to me that's a former athlete, say they're struggling with their marriage is falling apart, they don't know how they're professionally growing or how they can grow, getting them back into a running program, having them finish a marathon, and then tell you that they're like one of the most liberating things they could have ever done is going to be way more impactful for me than posting shit on Instagram.
So it's that old saying of actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. I think
and it'll catch wind too, man.
Yeah.
Like the more people you help, the bigger your reaches, and then eventually it'll.
Yeah.
Like it's a really good initiative what you're doing.
Cheers, bro. I think this is where we get lost in social media, as well. Like sometimes, like it is so easy to just post something. And, I have to have social media for work, and like half the time I look at my social media, I'm like, what are you posting, bro?
Do you know you got about 7 different accounts on Facebook?
Oh, do I? 7? Yeah, there you go.
There's heaps. I was trying to tag in there.
I'm
like, which one is it?
Send nudes to one of them. But yeah, I do it for work, but like sometimes it feels like a chore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like some of the boys must be ribbing me, but I've always copped a ribbon anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I think about sometimes and like, oh my god, like here we go, posting another picture with no shirt on. It's like kind of weird, but like my agents are always into me, like you got to post this and post that. I'm like,
why do you feel weird about it? Do you still doubt yourself?
No, it's not that. It's just because it's not me. Like if like social media didn't exist, I wouldn't care if anyone saw a picture with no shirt on. So it kind of feels weird and counterintuitive for me to post that because I don't think it's a true reflection of myself. But I think a lot of people are doing that on social media anyway. If I was posting a true reflection of myself, it'd probably be you and me having a beer and surfing. You know what I mean? Like that's it, right? But obviously you can't be posting having beers all the time, and there's like all these things you have to think about. When you think about your brand, but like there's something that you can never forget, that authenticity is always going to win. I think Fisher, right? The DJ, like it's very interesting, right? Because I'm sure it's some of the people who take care of him say, mate, you go a little bit too far sometimes. But he couldn't get any further from being himself, right? So fucking refreshing. Rather than seeing like a guy with I'll say girl, fuck it. A girl with like posting like with a G-string on, like that every girl does. It's like, okay, so is this really you, or is this like, are you doing this for some kind of ulterior motive? It's weird. I know, it's strange.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. Like that Fisher, I think that's why he's got so many people that follow him, because he's authentic
and relatable, right?
And relatable, yeah. It's like you said, say a girl posting a photo of her ass, like every photo's her ass. Like, what's her following? Just some creep sitting at home, like having a chocolate or what? Like, do you know what I mean? Unless she's like selling G-strings or something.
Plenty of Kleenex.
Yeah, jeez. But I think that Fish man, fuck, he's funny.
Like relatable. People love it, right? And they're like, oh yeah, like he's created a kind of vibe where you kind of feel like you're like one of his boys, It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
true, actually.
it's
Yeah.
hilarious. And I think that they, the best people on social media are going to have to do that, right? No, everyone's going to get, and I think brands are going to get do away with the, we'll send you 5 G strings and $5,000 to post it doesn't seem, for me it's like, okay, if your product's good enough, why do you need someone like that posting? I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It's good. I don't know where I got this from, or it might have been off Gary Vee or someone like that, but they were talking about how social media, someone will look at someone's followers, say that girl with the G-Banger on's got 1 million followers, but you go look at her comments and they're all just like, nice ass or blah, blah, blah. Or say someone's got 10,000 followers, look at their comments, they got 50, but they're all asking questions. What's this? How do you do that? Like the engagement with that person or the product.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think from that perspective. Yeah, it's like,
if the followers don't really matter. It's like how many of those followers are actually engaged.
Exactly.
So maybe grab a G-Banger out next time.
I thought we were going to do that at the end, but we might turn the cameras off.
I tell you who's really good at that as well. Excuse me. Isaac John from YKTR.
Yeah, of course.
So that's another good example of just them. They've created their own, I don't know, little cult following, I guess, and he's jumping on next week. Yeah,
but Ice has been really good at cultivating this kind of idea that we have from sport too, right? Of creating the community, like the boys kind of thing, right? And then creating several different little touch points around that. He's really, really good at it because it's authentic as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And you feel like you're part of something bigger, and I'm not sure if this is part of his marketing strategy, but once people feel like they're part of something bigger, they're willing to go to the website and fucking buy clothes. It makes total sense, right?
Yeah, well, I think he's mentioned that. Yeah, I might be mistaken, but I think he has. He goes, I don't ask for a sale. He goes, I just show everything we've done. Yeah. And then go, all right, here's some clothes. And then if they like it, they buy it. Yeah. Obviously they do.
It's good for them, right? There's a value proposition there for the customer too. They want to be part of this kind of community, you know what I mean? So it's really good. Yeah. Does a good job. He loves a story though, eh? Fucking hell. Ken put a story up. Hey,
yeah, so the Athletes for Life, what's the plan moving forward with that? Have you, obviously COVID hit and you had some runs booked in, you had to cancel, what's the, have you got any word on what
we're going over the next kind of month, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with, borders opening and that sort of stuff. New York City Marathon was cancelled yesterday. So there's not going to be a race in New York, but let's be fair, the US has had a much more difficult time with COVID-19 than we have. The Sydney Marathon's still open right now, which is kind of strange. September or something? September 22nd, I think, which was going to be our first actual big race with a group of guys, so a group of people, athletes, sorry. So over the next kind of couple of weeks, I'm going to really condense and make a more coherent plan because obviously, as you said, COVID-19 threw everything up in the air. But I think I really want to get a group of athletes together anyway and go through the training phase and explore their vulnerabilities and the challenges they're having since retiring, and maybe do a remote marathon somewhere so we could all go to a place, say for instance maybe the Great Ocean Road, say, and shoot you run the distance, run the 42Ks and shoot and run as a team though. I think there's something really important about, every time I've done a podcast or spoken to people like yourself, it's one thing that we do miss is that team kind of environment, you know what I mean? So if you can cultivate that, as we were saying, like Ice, if you can cultivate that for running a marathon and telling a story, documentary styles, it could be super, super impactful. But yeah, we're working on, we're working on a joint venture right now with a company in the US. So things have been going pretty good there, in advanced talks with them and moving forward with them to run some programs in different sports. I don't know, when we played, they had wellness officers and stuff like that, but not sure how they need help, right, in this area. Lots of sports, and the problem is with a lot of these sports is they don't have the resources or the funds to put into it, right? So we're trying to hopefully bring a product here that will help them do that, and we'll collect some data and get some feedback from obviously people who have played or people who are playing, and then also get some ideas of the main reasons things that people struggle with in sport, and try and arm them with their tools whilst they're playing to then transition more effectively and fluidly. So it's been super good, but yeah, it's challenging obviously for everyone. It's like kind of goes on work for a couple of months, right? And which has been. It's okay. I don't know if I want to go back to it. But yeah, it's nice to work on. It's like this for you. Athletes for Life is like you doing the podcast for me, right? It's like something that I'm super passionate about, and something that I have for me, I'm not doing it to have these expectations of, doing anything other than, helping and changing people's lives, and I think that we're able to do that. So, it's going to be super rewarding.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to see what you do with it. I reckon it's a great initiative. I guess, because I know so many people that have struggled with it, transitioning out of being an athlete, whatever sport it is. Yeah. So
it's kind of crazy when you post something on, people have been noticing Athletes for Life a little bit more, and then you get on the Instagram, people who slide into the DMs, in a good way. It's another social media thing, right? But they'll slide in and say, man, thanks for putting this video together because it really resonated with me in this way, right? So even those little kind of things that are more helpful. I know I was talking about social media being shit, but that is really rewarding, and then you can also have these kind of conversations with people who you never thought would have had any challenges, first of all. People you never thought you would have even been in contact with too, so it's super cool. And you ran a half marathon last week, so maybe you're going to fucking double up and do back-to-back, back-to-back.
Hemis were screaming.
Yeah, but what are you weighing these days, though? You've probably got 10 kilos of me. Easy.
I don't think my body's built for running. I had 2 knee recos.
I
smashed a few salt tablets. I think they helped.
Yeah.
It looked like someone put a salt shaker on me.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. You're trying to get better. I don't know, because I used to do that at the start. I used to get that, but now I don't get it. It's weird. I don't know why.
You don't get it?
Nah. I'm going after this one. Actually, I'm going to Lacura and having a salt float. So
shout out to Tommy Kerr down
Tommy
there.
Kerr. Hey mate, how are you? Bit on.
They it's running from someone who doesn't like running.
Yeah.
But if you throw me a footy or a soccer ball or something, I'll stay out on the ground for ages.
Yeah.
But, I was just at the end of the COVID, it was just I was sitting at home having a bottle of wine every night, and I was just my training. I wasn't really training, and one of the coaches down at the gym said, "Why don't you start running?" And I was like, "Do it." She gave me a challenge. She goes, "Do 21 Ks."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh fuck!" I said, "All right, I'll give it a crack." And to be honest, as much as I hated running, I actually do enjoy it a little bit now.
Yeah.
Just the feeling after it. I think it's more accomplishing something. Sit there, tick it off.
That's it.
It's a good win, whether it be running 1K or 21 or doing fucking 50 marathons or whatever you do. It's just that feeling of achievement, working towards something. Yeah. I guess similar to what you're talking about, Athletes for Life.
That's one thing that we really lose when you walk out of that locker room or the arena the last time. You don't. It's hard to put those quantifiable kind of these goals in front of you that you want to achieve. Because they're always pretty much made for you in some ways, right? With sport, get better at this, do that. Obviously, it's all geared towards winning, but then when you retire, it can be geared towards something totally different. I'd like to think about it as you consistently moving the goalpost, right, all the time in sport. To try and get better. The same thing happens when you finish, but just for different reasons, right? You don't, not necessarily to win the marathon or anything like that. It's just to complete the marathon, or I want to do an Ironman. So I think we really need that for being former athletes.
Yeah, there's nothing better than having a list, whether you're running a business or just going to work or just trying to be better in anything you do. Having a little list and a goal to work towards.
That's it.
Need it.
That's it.
Couple of questions I had for you. Or not me. A couple of people sent it in.
Shit.
One of them was wildest party you went to.
Wildest party.
Wildest party.
Anything
that sticks out that you can remember?
I was in a really wild party in Paris just last year. Actually, it wasn't even Paris. I'm off my head. It was in New York, but it was it was in a a walk up. If you know New York, down in Greenwich Village, where it's where a lot of the buildings are kind of older how do I explain this? Anyway, I was in this place, and it was super, super beautiful. And I walk in, it was like, honestly, it was like dark as like you couldn't see anything. And then, there's lots of people doing lots of drugs, and then there's just like lots of famous people in there. I won't say who was there, but it was it was pretty wild. And just like, I remember walking out at 8 a.m. I was like, oh, this isn't
No
good. Couple of beers, that was all good.
Beers, all good. What's next for you? Like, besides that Athletes for Life? I guess you sort of touched on that, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's like you're going to look for work back here and
so just
program.
Staying here, and I'd like to work. Being Australian, I'd like to be able to work with brands here, and that's probably part of the charity as well. I think that athletes. Platforms go vastly underutilized when they're playing, let alone when they're retired. So I'd like to be able to work with brands and still advocate for the things I like to advocate for. I want to do a multitude of things, man. I'd like to be pretty multi-dimensional. I don't think I can do one thing, Like if I work for Athletes for Life, I do like a couple of hours and then I'm going to go, all right, I'm going to go work on my surfing. Just go surfing. And then another training and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do a whole different array of things. Let's see where it takes me. I don't know, maybe I'll be working at Sydney Water. My dad works at Sydney Water. Maybe I'll be there soon. I doubt it, but what
advice would you give to someone, I guess, like someone that was similar in your situation, or someone's just thinking about getting up and having a go? Name of the podcast, that's why. So you've sort of just rolled with the punches by the sound of it. You're pretty good at footy, so you did that. Then sort of rolled into modelling. You always just went with it and had a crack, really.
Yeah, I think for me, the best advice I could probably give would be don't concentrate on being like the very, very best at everything. Try and be good at like a whole range of different things. And I think that's probably coming from the fact that a lot of the research I've done on athletic identity is that people put everything into that, and it's like hard to kind of see yourself outside of that. Though I think that to be able to transcend or kind of transform your identity, to try and have multiple touch points doing different things and experiencing different things, but not necessarily needing to be the best at them, and know that you don't need to be the best. We don't need to be the best at anything, to be honest with you. But if you're good at a bunch of stuff, you're going to be in pretty good stead to have a go. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard and weird to in that context, but because we're always taught like do your best and do this and keep on growing. But you can be good at a whole bunch of things. I think you're going to be you're pretty durable in a world that's pretty unpredictable. If that makes sense.
It does. Nailed it. Actually, I forgot one too. But best place you travelled and why? Been to a few places.
I've been so many places, which I'm super lucky to have been able to do. Probably a couple. I really like Brazil. Brazil's a really super interesting place. My ex-girlfriend's from there. Travelled all around Brazil with her. Went to the Amazon. If you ever get a chance, go to the Amazon. Probably not going to be there for much longer, especially with the current president in Brazil. Another place that sticks out is southern Italy. I like the Italian coast down on the south. There's a little place called Silla. It's a fishing town of like 5,000 people. It's like so quaint and like innocuous. On that entire coast, most people think of Tuscany and Portofino and all these places. And in this tiny little town, I was just like, oh, fuck, this is awesome. And then, I don't know, Australia, man. We were so lucky here, We're so far detached from the entire world, but our country is super incredible. And one of my favourite places here is Lizard Island up in the Whitsundays. It's like next level.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's next level. Super, super beautiful. Like, it's only like 20 or 30 huts. Oh, not huts. They're not huts. 20 or 30, what would you call them? Cabin kind of things on the island. And it's, it's super, super beautiful. There you go. There's
right. 3. Well, that wraps us up, Youngy.
Thanks,
Cheers, brother. I really appreciate you coming on.
Nah.
You're a good man, and really looking forward to seeing what you're going to be doing in the community, which you're pretty passionate about. So thanks again for jumping on, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Good luck with the podcast, and hopefully I can get on again soon.
Thanks for listening, guys. Cheers, mate.